Flip, 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 Flip Weekly.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Flip Weekly podcast. My name is Matt. I am your host. This is a podcast all about reselling. It is the Thursday, the 19th of March, 2026, and we're going to garage sales. We're going to thrift stores. We're going to op shops. We're finding things on Facebook Marketplace that we can buy low and sell for a profit. Ideally, we're turning $1 into at least $100. Our average sale price, we're trying to keep it high, and we've had sales this week with not a single sale below $50. I'm going to go through all of those with you. I'm going to tell you about the secret behind making money with little golden books. You know, everyone is familiar with these books. You see them in thrift stores every single time you go, but what is the secret to making money with them? I'm going to tell you. I'm also going to let you in on a little tip, very basic, that allows you to find some of the high value items in op shops. It's what I use when I'm trying to discover new categories, and you can just steal it from me right here. And I might also talk about the Facebook Marketplace find that I teased you about last week. You know, I still can't talk about it too much. It is going to be my highest flip of all time. It may keep that mantle or that crown. I don't know if mantle and crowns are the same thing for all of my reselling career. I don't think I'll ever be able to beat it. In fact, I'm signing a contract for it today. I just have to go over it with somebody so they can agree to certain things. But we have a contract for a Facebook Marketplace find. What does that tell you? What does that tell you about this find? That there needs to be a contract in place. Have you ever sold an item before that requires a contract? I guess when you're selling on eBay, they like to tout that, you know, when you're buying something, you're signing a contract that you're going to fulfill the purchase. It's not enforced. The amount of times I get people buying something from me on eBay only for like 30 minutes later being like, oh, I accidentally purchased this. How do you accidentally purchase something? Have you ever accidentally purchased something in your entire life? Tell a lie. I did actually accidentally purchased 10,000 googly eyes one time, so I guess I can't really talk. But look, if you've been around here for a while, you'll know that your host Matt is he's a fucking hypocrite, you know. So we're going to get into all of that, but for this week's episode, we just need to start off with what I've picked up for the week. I was able to get out to a couple of thrift stores. I was able to find some stuff. I actually just got back from a Facebook Marketplace pickup. It was one of those ones where the person is working until 4 p.m. And I know most people work, you know, 9 till 5, 9 till 4. I just really, really hate it once you've gone through the entire conversation. You've discussed, you know, you're going out there, Facebook sends through that you can now rate each other, and then you get that information that you have to go out at 4 p.m. and it's not that close. So when you're driving out there, you just know you're going to get 5 p.m. traffic, and that's exactly what happened today. And I get home after going out there, and I'm just thinking, like, now I have to list this thing up. I have to do the podcast. I have to edit the podcast, and I really just can't be fucked to do any of that. Like, why? I shouldn't have agreed to go out. The only reason I agreed was because that little rate notification came up in Marketplace. I didn't want to back out saying, like, I really can't be fucked to come out, but I don't want to get a 1 star on Facebook Marketplace. Not that it really matters. I think my rating is like 4.9 out of 5. It's never going to be a perfect 5 again, because a couple of cunts gave me a 1 star because they didn't like my responses. I mean, I really shouldn't care, but anyway, we'll talk about that one first, because I want to start off with just a little general tip for you. And it's the primary way that I find out what I should be picking up in a thrift store. You know, I'll be going through the thrift store and I'll notice that I bypass certain sections, and I don't want to be bypassing these sections. Like, when you're in an op shop, you need to be like maximizing your time. You don't want to be just going straight to the toys, you know, because you're going to strike out majority of the time. You need to be going to every single section, and that's why I fucking hate myself that I just bypass most of the women's clothing. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to get my head around women's clothing when you think about the opportunity available for, you know, reselling women's clothes when it may be the most dominant category in an op shop. Like, it just seems silly to ignore it, and yet I continue to ignore it. I haven't even attempted to to get into that sort of niche, those brands, those labels. I remember hearing about Shein and being like, isn't that a good brand? And it turns out it's like Temu, right? So I really don't know anything about that category, but I think something a bit easier to learn is, a smaller sort of niche or a smaller area within an op shop that has less items, so you can, browse everything and you don't have to fully commit to hours at the women's clothing rack. And that for me has been gardening books. I'd walk past the gardening books every single time because I had no idea what people were spending money on. But then I realized that people do buy $100 plus gardening books. There is a niche for this. And what I ended up figuring out just by the simple process of going onto eBay sold listings, finding the gardening book category and sorting by highest to lowest within Australia. That's literally all I did because I wanted to know more about, the gardening category. Not so much that I give a fuck about gardening, right? I have a few plants myself. I just had to trim back my lime tree that I've had for 3 years because I had these mealybug cunts sucking the life out of the plant. It was one of the saddest days of my life. I basically gave it a full haircut. This thing was like middle-aged man going bald, shaving this fucking thing all the way back because I just couldn't get rid of these mealybugs. I tried the sprays. I tried the systemic liquid that goes into the fertilizer, shit that you can't even buy at Bunnings because it's been banned because it's going to harm the bees. Even though I don't think I've ever seen a bee outside of my apartment. It's a category that could be seen as boring. It could be seen as something that everyone else looks over. Could be. I'm just making assumptions. There could be fucking gardening experts out there that resell and they're getting all the good books. But I did it for gardening books. I wanted to see what was out there. And for probably the past couple of months, I've been looking to see if I can find some of the sort of holy grail books for gardening. And when it really comes down to it, the big money seems to be in bush tucker, berries, edible foods, all within the Australian bush, plus anything to do with marijuana, cannabis, weed. So I memorized this information because I'd never made any money with this category. And when I was in Savers, I came across 2 books that immediately stuck out to me. They were called Bush Medicine, a Pharmacopoeia of Natural Remedies, and Bush Tucker, Australia's Wild Food Harvest. They'll both by the same author. They'll both $5 each. The sell-through rate for these books is really high, 60% and 86%. That's high for books. You buy a copy of fucking Women's Weekly Cookbook and it will sit there for 24 months, if not longer. These books would be out the door within 90 days. In terms of sale price, you can buy both of them and list them together for about $100. And really, just what I wanted to share was that it's important to remember that when it comes to the gardening book category, you're looking for, edible plants because that's what sells, or cannabis, weed, whatever. Just, follow that formula for any sort of thrift store category that you're looking over. If you never look at cookbooks in op shops, just search the category on eBay by highest to lowest and work out what you should be hoping to find. And one day you'll be able to find what seems to be the best performing cookbook that sells for the most money, which is Heston Blumenthal's Big Fat Duck, which sells for about $300. I'm always on the lookout for that. I'm also always on the lookout for Anthony Bourdain because I want that signature. But these Bush Tucker books, when it comes to gardening, next time you're in a thrift store and you come across the gardening section, look for this sort of shit. And you'll be able to find an item that could sell for close to $100, if not more. And again, this is such a boring category, at least to me, that chances are it hasn't been picked over like every other category. But we move from the gardening books over to the other section of the bookstore, which is sci-fi. And I have a type of book here that I'm going to encourage you to pick up every single time you find it. And I know I've been doing a lot of books, but I've just been having a lot of luck lately. And these aren't books that are just going to sit for fucking a year. They're going to be selling quickly and selling for a lot of money. Now, these stuck out to me on the shelf because the spine just looked really old, and it was the same author and same color spine all along the rack. So I pulled them out, I had a look at them, and I can see in the bottom right corner of these books there was a little logo that said Fighting Fantasy. This was sort of a light bulb moment, because you would know if you read the Flip Weekly newsletter or you've listened to every single podcast when it comes to sci-fi books, if you can find the fantasy rule book type shit, people pay up for that stuff. Now, these are like rules for tabletop games or some sort of fantasy game. I don't know. I've never used one of these books or played one of these books. If that's what you do with these, you play these books. Doesn't sound right, but people play with these books in a bit of a different way than people play with romance books. You know what I mean? These were by an author called Steve Jackson. Apparently over 10 million copies of these fighting fantasy books have sold. There's a huge number in the category. And when you open them up, you can see that they're fucking rule books. So they're easy to spot. And again, the spines on the shelf, they stand out just because they look old. There's no illustrations. It's just like a solid color background with black text over them, and that fighting fantasy logo on the back and the front. These specific ones had a gold foil on the author's name, which means they're worth a bit more money. I paid $2.50 for 3 of these things. I left some behind as well, just because they didn't fit in with what I was doing. But yeah, I paid $2.50 for each. So what's that? $7.97 for 3. And I've put them up for $150 on eBay. I have a couple of people watching at the moment, which means I think they're going to sell. The sell-through rate was good. It's very hard to find, 1 to 3. I think there's 4 in the series, but finding a couple of them at the same time is always going to make the sale easier to get. And look, we're about to move on to even more books, but fuck, man, if it isn't just a category we're making bank with. And for over the past year, over a year, I've been trying to make money with the little golden books. You know these books, right? They're in every single fucking thrift store. They're recognized by their golden spine. All of the stories are focused towards children. Although, to be fair, I don't know if I've read one in the past 20 years. They could be completely different now. But back in the day, they were mainly fairy tales and nursery rhymes, that sort of shit. Although I have seen a Taylor Swift one in a thrift store before, so maybe the average age of their readers has increased. I don't fucking know. But most that you find in the thrift store, they're going to be a mix of modern and vintage. And a lot of people will assume, just because they're old, the vintage ones, they're worth money, but that's not true. It honestly isn't. Majority of them are worthless unless you bundle them up in lots of, not kidding, 100. And then you might be able to get $100 for them, maybe a tiny bit more if you have desirable titles and they're in good condition. A year ago, when I was wanting to explore this little golden book niche, I used that exact same method I used for the bush tucker gardening stuff, and I learned that there was really only 2 niches within the little golden book category that was worth picking up, and that's either the little golden activity books or the little golden book library. Now, the little golden activity book, these are books that feature the paper characters or objects, and they can be cut out and played with. When I say played with, what are kids going to do with little bits of paper? They're going to crumple them up, color them in, throw them out, not really play with them. But if you find one of these books with the objects completely intact, you can ask for over $100. And you might be thinking what are the odds that I'm going to be able to find a little golden activity book with all of the paper cutouts inside? My luck, I'm thinking, nah, never going to happen. They're going to be colored in, they're going to be cut out, or most likely ripped out. But people do find them. I'm looking at a sale here of a Cinderella book of the Little Golden Activity, 1969. It sold for $283 in the US. Now, you open this book up and you can see Cinderella and the dude that she fucks, and you just cut them out. There's different objects there. You have the pumpkin, you have the mice, you have the clock, the car that she drives in. And then, you just play with them, I guess. If this is what kids were playing with in the fucking... What year was this? 1969? This is what kids are playing with? No wonder fucking people born in the 60s grew up and are now addicted to their fucking phones. Addicted to Facebook. Because this is what they were playing with bloody 50... No, how long ago was that? 60 years ago. They're playing with paper. How fucking boring is that? You chuck a phone or a tablet in their face, of course they're going to get addicted to it because they don't know anything better, man. But I'm always flicking through the little golden books and I'm hoping to find just that word on the front. You just need that word activity. Another sale here. Hansel and Gretel. Little Golden Book 1961. with the dolls, aka the paper that hasn't been cut out or destroyed, $140. So whenever I am in a thrift store and I come across the kids section and I see that golden spine, I take 30 seconds, flick through, look at the little golden book logo, and just pray that the word activity is there. If I see it, the word activity, which I never have, and you know how often I'm in thrift stores, but to this day I've never been able to find one. But when I do, you just know it's going to be like $2 into $200, right? Especially if you open it up and the paper is still intact, you're going to be thinking like, I'm so fucking smart, right? You're going to be walking out of there with your fucking head held high, doing that Vince McMahon walk, just thinking I've got a good deal. Look, that didn't happen to me this week, but I did find the other money maker in the Little Golden Book. And you know what that is? Well, I've just told you. It is the Little Golden Book Library. Now, this is a collection of 4 books. They're all in a slipcase, and they're basically an omnibus of all of the different stories within, the Little Golden Book universe. So I found in Vinnie's this week, and the price was just insane. It was fucking $5. So it was released in 1969. And when I look at all the other listings on eBay, mine is in really good condition. It has that slipcase. All 4 of the books have been covered in plastic. They did a really poor job of the plastic covering, but that's fine because they kept the books in good condition, and it had the original pull ribbon as well. So this looks really good. And if you're able to find the set, you're in for a really good payday, especially if you can get it for $5 like I did. Sell-through rate's okay. They always sell, so I'd always recommend buying. I'm looking at sold comps here, $175 plus 15 postage, $149.95, $10 postage. So we're going to be able to turn $5 into around $150. And whilst I did find the library version of this, I still want to find an activity book. I really do. I think it would be more exciting because it feels like you've found treasure, because you're able to flick through all of them and you can find that activity. My luck, the paper's going to be cut out. And when I do find one and that happens, or some little cunt has drawn all over the dresses or the people, I'll make sure to post a photo on social media so you can see it. But either way, keep this information in your back pocket because it's going to make you money. All 3 of those book tips are things that you can go into an op shop with tomorrow and just look for them. What were they? They were the gardening books. You're looking for Bush Tucker. The sci-fi, you're looking for the rule books, the game books. They don't look like modern game books. They're not A4 in size. They were smaller. I mean, if you find the A4 size ones too, more power too. But anything that just looks like a game book or a rule book. And the third, of course, the Little Golden Books. That's 3 actionable tips that you can use this week to try and make some money. Now, look, you go in there once and you don't find anything. Do not send me a message saying I tried and I failed after 1 fucking week. Like I said to you, I've been looking for this Little Golden Book for what has felt like an eternity. Exact same thing with the Bush Tucker shit and with the fantasy shit. This takes time, but if you have that information handy, you know you're going to be able to find something eventually. It just takes fucking time, perseverance, and just put in the work, man. It's not that fucking hard. Now, speaking of, being, having some perseverance, putting in the time, and it's not that hard, this next item, I gave up trying to put it together once I bought it because I just couldn't do it. But it was a Facebook Marketplace pickup. It was one I went to today. I saw this listing on Marketplace and I thought, it's a bit of a gamble, but I'm just gonna get it. The title of it was Vintage Matchbox Streak Around. It was $30. Description said, this has been stored away for quite a while. Last time I put it together, it seemed to have all pieces, but I can't be sure now. From the photo, it looks like a very old Matchbox playset. It looks like you press a button on the car and it launches and it goes around like a loop-de-loop thing. It's called a streak around, but it looks like a loop-de-loop. It goes up a bit high. There's little support structures for it. It just looks fucking old. So I saw it and I quickly comped it. I had a feeling just by looking at the box and knowing there are collectors out there that it's worth probably more than $30. The fact that you have the box and you have the stuff and you think it's complete. But look, I'm not like a Matchbox, die-cast, Hot Wheels person. I never bought them or sold them before, but it was just basic instinct, right? I thought it's surely worth more than $30. So I look it up on eBay and I don't find a single active or sold listing. And that's usually a good sign. when it's like an item that isn't counterfeit. So I jump over to Google, I type in the name of it, I type in the name of the set, the model number, Matchbox Streak Around S900. Sounds cool if you're a kid, right? I can see it was released in the 70s, and every single search result is either an independent auction company website or it's a WorthPoint link. Now, I refuse to pay for WorthPoint, so we used the free alternative, which is avaluer.net, and we've got 3 results. Now, of course, avaluer.net doesn't have as much data as WorthPoint, but, you know, it's free, so it doesn't matter. I look on WorthPoint and it has 16 results, so it's just a small sliver of all the available data. But result 1, it was missing one piece, sold in 2019 for £62. Result 2 was unassembled and untested, sold in 2020 for €60. Result 3 said it looked complete, sold in 2021 for $86. So when we average all those prices, it seems to be worth around $110. So I look at the photos again and I'm like, well, this looks complete. I don't think the car is in it just based on all of the photos. I think there were 6 photos. I didn't think the car was going to be in it, but based on those listings saying that none of them have said really that they're complete, and you could just chuck any sort of car on this thing by the looks of it, I'm just going to go out and buy it. So I paid $30. Of course, the marketplace person said cash only. I just wish some people would think like, where the fuck do you get cash out now? And where do you get cash out that doesn't come in $20 or $50 notes? Like, I had to go and exchange cash after getting it out from an ATM. Just accept fucking Pay ID. I wish people weren't so wary about getting paid via, you know, Pay ID, bank transfer, whatever. It's instant. It's in your account instantly, and it means I don't have to fucking find an ATM. It's such a pain in the ass. So I get out there, grab the thing, chuck it in the car, have a quick look, and I can tell that the car isn't in there. That's fine. I wasn't expecting it. I drove home, opened this thing up inside. I started to put it together, and this thing was like, I must have that fucking, what am I, a millennial or Gen Z? I think I'm a millennial. I must have that fucking millennial brain that doesn't focus on things for long periods of time, because I gave up. I literally I couldn't put it together. It wasn't working for me. I got all of it together except for the pieces of plastic that held up the loop-de-loop. I just kept, trying to make the track go over the structure, and it kept falling down. I fucking had, and I thought, I'm going to backhand this thing in a second. So I was like, Matt, calm down, take it apart, take photos, and just go through the contents, make sure everything's there. And I did exactly that. Everything was there except for the car. I had the original instruction manual, that sort of bullshit. So I think I'll put it up on eBay for $150, but the buyer has to pay postage just because it's a big box. And I'm pretty sure the buyer will end up being somebody in the UK, because that's where majority of the sales have come from. Well, the 3 that I could find, 2 that I could find, one of them was in euros. Somewhere in Europe may buy it. I also put it up on Facebook Marketplace for an even $100, hoping that somebody buys it locally so I don't have to ship it off. That's really all that I bought for the week. I did buy a VHS tape that I'll talk about in what I sold. But yeah, it's just been another sort of crazy week with this huge Facebook Marketplace find that has just drawn all of my brain capacity to it. I said to you earlier, we had a meeting last week. I've been reviewing the contract this week. I actually had to push back on a few things within the contract. I've been writing about this entire ordeal, and just to this day, and we're fucking not even a month into it, I'm at 3,000 words already, which means that, first of all, the newsletter is going to be incredibly long because we're only a month into it, and I can only talk about this publicly in August, if not a bit later. And so the podcast, when I can tell you, is going to be a fucking big one. It's going to be a long story. I hope that you stick around until October or August when I can talk about it. I may actually have a different sort of podcast for you next week or the week after. Well, sometime in March or April. It sounds very indecisive and unplanned, but I'll have a different story for you sometime in the next month, just because we have other things going on here that's going to take some time. But I think we should get into what I sold for the week, because we did have a lot of sales. And look, we're starting off the week with something that sold in 3 fucking days. It just took 3 days to sell this first item, $8 into $200. It was the LG video player that I picked up from Savers for, what was it, $7.95, $8. Sold for $200. I think I did free post, and posting these things, especially this super slim VHS player, was like maybe $20, a bit less after my discount. I think I'm on band 3. I don't ship that much stuff, even though I feel like I'm at the post office every single day. But yeah, this was sitting on top of that DVD VHS combo that I left behind at Savers. Somebody else ended up buying that, by the way. But it's either like the brand or the model. I don't know, but buyers bloody love this specific VHS player. I think it's because it's super slim. It did have the remote. It was tested. I always put a photo in my listings when I test. I think it gives the buyer some confidence. But yeah, don't always assume that VHS players can be sold for like, you know, $100. Some of them, the better brands, the more desirable ones, you can sell for $200 and they sell quickly. So that was the first one out the door, $200. The next one was another item that sold for $200. This is a video game bundle that I've held on to for a while. I picked it up in the garage sale trail for $50, but over the past few months, I've reduced the price just because it wasn't selling, which is weird for like a video game bundle, but I think I was just too excited. I was prematurely excited because some of the games in the bundle were still sealed. And this was the exact same day I found the Game Boy shit, the Wii shit. So it was a huge video game day when I picked this up, and I just priced it high. I think I started with a buy it now price of around $300. Eventually got it down to $225 and somebody bought it. The profit was still there, you know, not as much as I originally thought, but it's still worth picking up these bundles at garage sales. This was on the second day of the garage sale trail, so people are more likely to want to get rid of their shit. They're probably making like $5, $10, and then when somebody offers them $50, most times they're going to take it. Now, the next item that sold, it was $4 that I bought it for. And this is like a lesson in supply versus demand. This is the 12th Man box set, which is 7 CDs inside of a box set all about cricket or parodying cricket. I don't fucking know. It's one of those things. When I first listed this CD box set up at the end of February, we had multiple active listings around the $50 mark. Now, I'd previously sold this box set for $100, and so I opted to double the active listing price. I was like, fuck it. There aren't that many available. I'm just going to list it up for $100 and see what happens. And since that date, people have bought out all the listings. For real, they're all fucking gone. Here's how it went. I'm looking at the dates here. 28th of February, one sold for $45. 1st of March, $51. 10th of March, $58. 12th of March, which is mine, $99.95. I'm that final listing. So just remember the historical value of your items. You don't want to be driving the price down. You want to be driving it back up. But I can see as of today, there's one new active listing for this CD box set. And you know what they've priced it at? $99. You're welcome. The other thing with this listing was I wanted to stand out just a bit. The other listings had just a photo of the front of the box set as their main photo. And just to be a bit different, I had the main photo plus the entire box set laid out. Makes it look like there's a lot there, and you need to stand out one way. So I don't know, just get creative a bit. Now the next thing that sold, it was some Barbie shit, some rare Barbie stuff that I don't usually pick up, or I guess I do pick up if I see it and it's worth some money. But Barbie really isn't my category. Thrift stores see this Barbie shit and they just see random accessories, but I knew they weren't just random accessories. It was a lot of 3 all in the same grab bag. And they were like individual packets of Barbie clothes. So there was one that looked like a ball gown, and it came with like the gown, a necklace, and a pair of shoes. There was another one that was like a swimsuit that came with a swimsuit and again like a pair of shoes. But they were sort of in like creative packaging. Like they looked like a silhouette of a dress. And I thought, well, that's interesting. You know, everything's boring in 2026. These can't be from, you know, around this era. You know, every single company has just gotten so fucking boring and bland and uncool and trying to just be safe. You know, you go into a McDonald's now and it just looks like a sterile sort of hospital waiting room, and then you compare it to what McDonald's was in the 90s. Like they had all these statues around, they had cool fucking chairs, play equipment that actually looked fun. It didn't look like, you know, like a small enclosure for children where you just dump them off so you can eat your fucking fast food. Everything's just gone so boring. So when I saw the packaging, I was like, this looks like it could be somewhat old when people were fun, right? Turns out it was from 2002, which doesn't sound like that long ago, but it's fucking 24 years ago. It's over 20 years old, these things. Brand new and sealed in this packaging. I had it up on eBay for $100 for these 3. I paid $2 each, or $6 for the grab bag. I had it on Marketplace for a bit less, maybe about $80. And somebody offered me $65 plus I'll pay for postage. So I was like, fuck yeah, I'll do that. I paid $6 for them. Of course I'll sell them for $65. So the only thing that caught my eye for that was the creative packaging, and I associated that with old, which I then associated with being worth a bit of money. So there we go. Hell yeah. I also sold the Simpsons 3D checkers that I picked up maybe 2 weeks ago. I paid $5 for it. Somebody came around from Marketplace and paid $50. I think I had it on eBay for $100, Marketplace $50. I really need to stop doing like half of what I put it like items for on eBay. I have that Harry Potter box set on eBay for $1,000. For some reason, my brain is just like $500 on Marketplace. Literally half. Then you start to think, I hope nobody comes and like gives me $500 cash for this, because I want to sell it on eBay for $1,000 sale. That still hasn't sold, by the way. So please don't buy it on Marketplace. But then we come to a couple of other things. We had some Brat stuff going out. I completely forgot that I had, a fucking container full of Brat stuff. Once I sold that one doll for like $500, my mind sort of drifted away and I lost interest. But I sold, what's her name? Styled at Jade. Jade here sold for $80, 96 cents. She's off to the UK, so somebody paid out the arse for postage and VAT. But the cool thing about Brats is, like, if they can't fit into the small padded mailer, you just fucking rip their feet out and then they stuff in okay. So that was good. It means I didn't have to pay as much for shipping. And then finally, some of the stuff that I come across in op shops is just too good to leave behind. It's just too nostalgic. It's too cool. It's not something you see every day. That was a VHS that I found in Savers. I paid $2 for it. It is the Ferals. Feral TV, Feral Home Videos. I paid $2. It sold for $49.95. Now, the reason it sold for only $50, yes, only $50, was because when I opened up the case in Savers to look at the tape, and yes, you should be doing this, it had fucking mold on the tape. Now, I've tried before to fix this problem, and the way to fix the problem is to literally take out the 5 screws in the tape, pop it open, and then wind the magnetic tape by hand, get a cotton bud, and wipe that mold away. I've done it once and it didn't work. I wasn't going to attempt it again just because I couldn't be fucked, to be honest. I probably should have, because the Ferals is incredibly popular on eBay. Now, this was something that every kid who grew up in the 90s saw on TV, I guess at one point in time. It only aired from 1994 to 1995 on the ABC, but it left a lasting memory to us 90s kids. These were puppets that were interacting with humans on set who were running a television station, and they always, they got into their fucking hijinks and shit. We had Radis the Rat, we had Modigliana, Darren, and Mixie, and of course the human characters. So if you grew up in the 90s and you don't remember what this is, just Google the Ferals and I'll guarantee you'll be able to recognize it. And man, the supply of these tapes of the Ferals it's fucking limited. Like, some people on eBay are asking for insane amounts of money. Somebody has a VHS tape of the Ferals for $180. Another person has it on for $86. Plenty of people watching, and I couldn't find the one that I had anywhere. I couldn't find it on eBay, sold listings, active listings, WorthPoint, AValuer, nowhere. I couldn't even find it when I Google Lensed it. So chucking up for $50, it sold in 6 hours. Maybe I priced it too low, but that's fine. Like, it's literally one of the coolest things that I found in an op shop, in my opinion. Like, we have things selling for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. This thing that sells for $50, paid $2.50 for it, I think is probably one of the coolest things I found this year at an op shop. Now, we also had a camera that sold, picked it up from Marketplace. Man, it would have been mid last year, and it just sat on my table because I needed to buy a battery charger and a battery for it. And it came in waves, man. Like, I would see it all the time, and I'm like, I need to buy a battery. Took me forever. I finally did. I think I'm in for it for a bit more than $50. The battery's 20, so whatever, but it sold in just under a month. Just under a month, which means I shouldn't have just left it on my table. I should have fucking dealt with it. But it sold for $250. So that's $50 a bit more than that into $250. I'm going to say in just under a month, even though it's taken me a long time to price it up. Well, to get it working. Well, not to get it working. I didn't fix this fucking thing. To buy a battery. So it took me months to find a battery online and click buy. You know, how fucking lazy is that? I don't even have to get up. I don't have to go to the store. I don't have to get in the car. I don't have to deliver it. I just have to press a fucking button and I put it off for months. If you are doing anything like that at the moment, if you have something sitting on your table, sitting on your bench, and the only thing you need to do is buy like a part for it and you haven't already, and it's available online, fucking do it, man. How fucking lazy are you? Do not be as fucking lazy as I am. Buy the part. If it's like $20 like this fucking battery is, what is your excuse? Like, I don't have time. I'm sure that's what I said. Hypocrite Matt over here. So the fucking theme of the podcast. Just fucking buy it. And then once you've bought it, list it up. Stop putting things off. Maybe that is what we should be doing for the rest of 2026. Do not put things off. You know, I see death piles. I hear about death piles. And I see people going out thrifting. And you have a death pile at home. What are you doing? You have a year's worth of inventory sitting in a room and you're going out and buying more? Why? You go grocery shopping when you have a full fridge? It doesn't make sense to me. If you buy something, list it up straight away, or you're just going to create a backlog. I just think, like, if you're going out to thrift, when you have an entire room, storage cupboard, everything, a mountain of items that could be listed up, you get home from the thrift and then what do? You just chuck it in the room like, good job? You didn't do anything. You've just wasted your own time. And you know what's crazy about all of that? It's the exact same scenario as what I did with this camera. It's just putting things off. You take a couple of hours of going through your death pile and you'll have it all ready. It'll all be done. It'll take too long. I don't have the time. You have time to go out and buy new stuff, add to the pile. You don't have time to just list things up. It can't sell if it's not listed. It makes no sense. Make it make sense. Oh, I need to make sure that I have, a draft bank. Why? You're already months and months ahead of where you need to be. Go out thrifting, do the fun stuff once you've done the boring stuff. I don't understand why a lot of people do the fun stuff before they do the boring stuff. I mean, I understand why. You want that fucking dopamine hit. Do the boring stuff first. It's like in the startup world where I was heavily involved, and I'd hear about people coming up to me with ideas, being like, this is my idea. I'm going to make, a lot of money with it. Imagine once I have all this money, then I'm going to be able to do this and do that, go on a holiday. It's like, slow down. Slow down. You don't have anything at the moment and you're just thinking so far ahead. You should be, laser focused on creating a good product first. Get the boring stuff out of the way, then you can, reap the rewards and start thinking about that later on. Don't go thrifting if you have a pile of shit at your house that needs to be listed up. It's just sitting there doing nothing. It's making no money. It's taking up space. You do not need to have a year's worth of inventory in advance. I don't know. I don't understand it. And I think if people have gotten themselves in that position, nothing is actually going to help them. You can tell them to, list up what you have. But, if they haven't done it themselves, then I don't know. I'm saying to you, if you have a room, if you have a cupboard, if you have an entire storage container filled with stuff that isn't listed up, go and fucking do it, bro. Instead of watching an hour of TV, fucking list up things for an hour. You'll feel better afterwards. It's like going to the gym. You don't want to go to the gym. You fucking hate going to the gym. You'll drive to the gym, you'll be sitting in your car for fucking 30 minutes psyching yourself up. But once you're done, you feel so much better. It happens with everything that you don't want to do. As soon as you get it done, you feel 10 times fucking better. And look, you might even get a bit of dopamine when you find these items that are in these containers, in these rooms, in these cupboards, and you look them up and you see their prices. You see what they can sell for. You get a bit of dopamine with that, right? It's like fucking thrifting in your own home, but you don't have to pay for anything. Don't go out, find more bullshit and chuck it on the pile. Work through the fucking pile. I honestly don't know. I don't want to go in too fucking hard either, but I don't know how you don't see like your quote unquote death pile and just think like I'm a fucking loser. I shouldn't be doing this. This is not right. What, you're going to go to a thrift store at the very beginning of the year, comp it up, buy it because of those comps, chuck it on a pile for 12 months, and what, come back to it? It could dropped like 100%. It could be worth nothing now. What are you doing? List that shit up, man. Just do it. And I get that if you, I don't know, you have a problem, you can't do it, you're bed bound, that's fine. But if you're going out and buying more stuff and throwing it on the pile, that's not cool. It's bad. It's bad business. List it all up, then go out and find more shit. That's all. That's not that hard. Listing isn't hard. You sit down at a fucking computer and you type in what you're selling. How hard is it to look at what you have and describe it? You know, oh, I have my phone here. I have an iPhone. I have a camera. I have a fucking computer mouse. How hard is it to type that up? Type it in an amount. Give me this much money. I will ship it to you. There's your fucking description. Do that. That's not hard. Take a few photos. How long does that take? Anyway, if we're going with the theme of the episode, this is where I tell you I have like a room full of shit that I need to list up. But look, that's all I've got for you this week. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for indulging me. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, review. I'll see you again next week.
Flip, 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 flip weekly.